you was sweat, your makeup's running, you a hot mess, and then you was going out to go eat. Like, but that was like the golden era for me. The songs, the lyrics, the music, how you felt. I had a great experience through it, and I wouldn't trade nothing about it.
All right, today is Thursday, December 21st, 2021. Who are we speaking with?
Lynn Woods.
Lynn, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you. It's been a long time since we've seen each other, probably a decade at least, if not longer.
It's probably longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl. I grew up in a place called Howell Township. And as I was growing up, nobody knew where that was, or they didn't know that Black people lived there. So I would always say, don't spit it out. I would always say between Lakewood and Freehold. And if that didn't capture anybody's, oh, I got it, then it was Great Adventure. I literally had Great Adventure as a summer job. So I was 20 minutes away from Great Adventure. And at that point, whether you came from New York or Connecticut or somewhere in Jersey, you probably went to Six Flags Great Adventure at one time in your life.
That is the perfect node, because if you don't know Jersey, everyone of our age and era knew Great Adventure. You know,
Right.
It was Great Adventure and Action Park, right? So
right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. What kind of music did you hear in the house growing up?
In my house, my dad loved, gospel. So the church, I grew up Baptist. My church was literally next door. So it really was 500 feet away. So gospel, James Brown, the Pretenders, like it was a lot of the 60s, 70s music. And then, I remember owning the record for Sky or Foxy, and then because I grew up in a predominantly white town or whatever, when my brother got to high school, I probably followed a lot of my brother's trends in music. When my brother got to high school, it became the Doors, AC/DC, because he was having beer parties. So I think B-52s I got from him. But I also had, of course, New Edition, all of that music that was coming out during that time too. So I had a good of R&B, rock, alternative. That's when, MTV. So you start seeing Pat Benatar, and you couldn't tell me I couldn't perform Pat Benatar. Like it's funny, even to this day, when I do karaoke, I'm probably doing alternative rock or 80s music. But it was also my brother why I got into house. So he used to ask me to remember the boxes and the dual cassettes. He would ask me to tape the shows. So it would be Timmy Regisford. It would be John Robinson, Kenny Carpenter. And so I'm taping all this music before I start to drive. And then when I got my driver's license, it was like a 45-minute drive to Club, I think it's Club Evergreen, and definitely Zanzibar. So that was at that point, it was like the world opened up. Like, what is this?
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us the story about Club Evergreen.
You know what? I don't remember it, because I know I could tell you that was exit 144 on the Parkway. I don't remember that well. I know I was there a couple of times, but it felt like a very much older scene. But it's funny how songs connect you to points of your life. Tonight, the time is right. I'm gonna find a friend for the weekend. I can't, like, first of all, I'll mess up all lyrics to songs, I'll mess up titles, but I know it, right? And so I do remember walking in and that was playing, and it was just, yeah, I'm gonna find me a friend for the weekend. Like if I was with my crew or whatever, but it was a good time, but it definitely felt like an older crowd. Cause I think at this time I'm like in college, which is also funny because I met Cassio Ware at Virginia State. So I just missed Jahad Muhammad. Like we didn't meet until later on in life and found out that we were at Virginia State. But Cassio was at Virginia State with me and he would throw parties. So that's how also it just kept connecting me to different people in this industry that I mean, I had an amazing I had an amazing entry point. I had an amazing time in the whole house music community because I literally got to meet what people call legends or the greats or all of that. Yeah.
Then talk to us about college. You graduate, and then what do you do?
I went to Virginia State. I was in Petersburg and I knew the South wasn't for me. I always wanted to live in New York. At the time, I wanted to be a fashion designer, but my parents were against me going to school in New York. So I knew about FIT, I knew about Pratt, and it was like a no. So and also because of where I grew up, I knew I was leaving Howard. Like I didn't care if it was by spaceship or by a scooter or a bike. I was out of there. And so I picked the HBCU because I also realized growing up around not my people, it was intimidating to be around my people, even though I had like this Black church right next to me, but school day in and day out, my town. So I was like, I'm out of here. So went to Virginia State, graduated from Virginia State, and I end up in New York with my brother. So my brother is a house head. So now I'm like Studio 54. He's sneaking me into the tunnel, like all like just I've had such great memories and experience. And, I was still friends with Cassio. I think by this time, I got a glimpse of Barbara Tucker. So it was just like, where do I go to find this music? At the time, I didn't know about Shelter. So I had a couple of jobs. It's funny, I went from on 6th Street, God, I can't even think of the store right now. Anyway, worked from Strawberry. I kept moving around in retail because that's where my degree kind of fit, like retail, hospitality management. So I kept jumping from retail jobs. And by the time I got to Macy's, I think this is probably maybe 95, 96. And I don't even know how I even stumbled into Sound Factory Bar. It was on 21st, I believe, between 5th and 6th, I think. I don't even know how I got there. But once I made it there, I was like, oh, it was a every Wednesday ritual. I would work sometimes till 11 o'clock at night, especially if there's a Macy's one-day sale. Which used to be a huge deal back then, but now it's like sales all the time. But anyway, I would literally walk from 34th Street and walk to Sound Factory Bar and pay, scrape my money and pay what it was to get in. Because at this time, don't nobody know Lynn, don't care about Lynn. So Lynn is standing in line with everybody else and paying. And I would do that for years. And then that helped me find out about other parties. But Sound Factory Bar was my entry way to, now I'm seeing Barbara Tucker every Wednesday, Don Welch, it's Louis Vega, Ray Hans, the dancers. Like it was a fabulous time. Like I always knew going in and the way I felt when I came out, it was always like, you can live for another day. Like you can do this.
Was there a particular memorable performance or guest DJ or somebody that turned it out? Like, give us a story about the Sound Factory Bar that like crystallized.
Wow. I don't know if I have a memorable performance because it was like the people who attend were the performance, right? Like I remember Princess dancing on the speaker. I remember I'm gonna mess this up and the community, please forgive, but he passed away, but I want to say it's something Renee, but I remember like it was the people that came in and brought life. Like, granted, yes, the music was there, Louis was doing his thing, you know, all that, but it was like going to see the dancers. So I don't even remember a performance that stood out. It was an upstairs and downstairs. It's like if it got too packed or if the music was something upstairs, you went downstairs. Like, but literally spent all night in a club, like from 11. And then that was the beauty of things too back then. It's like you would get home at 4, sleep for 2 hours, and you were back at work and you were on time. Like you wasn't messing up your job. Like these babies now that can't do more than one thing, it was like from literally Monday through Thursday, I was out. On a Monday, I would probably be at Nell's or doing R&B. There was a promotions team called Black Diamond. So I followed them wherever they were. Sometimes they did Mondays, sometimes they did Thursday. Like I was out and then I went to work, but it never felt like it felt like I was never exhausted because I, you know, like I said, put in 8 hours, then do it all over again. But Sound Factory Bar was everyone that was the scene. Everyone made that. Like, I always felt like your security guards, your door person, your bathroom attendants, your DJ, everyone has their own script in this scene. And so it's not like you going just for one thing. Sometimes you're just running in to say hi to this person and then you're on a dance floor. So it was, if you were a regular, it became a community. People start to know your face, but I really can't remember one performance.
No, I get what you're saying. It wasn't a one performance, it was a vibe. It was an experience.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it was always, yeah, I know what you mean. Like there was some parties at different eras where every time you went, it was always a vibe.
Right.
You know. Talk to me about fashion. What were people wearing in that era when they went out to Sound Factory Bar or when they went out to Shelter or?
It was eclectic. I mean, it's from anything from, you know, Tim's. I do remember the dancers at Sound Factory Bar, they would definitely have on like, because there was, I think about 4 speakers, but they will all have on something that you knew that they were the performers of the dance club or whatever. But for a minute, like, it's funny, I even think about how I used to dress. Like for a minute, it was combat boots, overalls, a midriff t-shirt or like a wife beater. And that's probably politically incorrect too, but that's what it was. Still for me. And you know, at the time, I had no problems if someone put baby oil and then rolling around on the floor and stuff like that. And then it got to a point where I was like, I'm not doing that shit anymore. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. So then my style of dress became dresses or flowy stuff, and then like high heel shoes. Like now, it's different. Like all my movement is all up in the air as opposed to on the floor. But dress code was anything. Like you came to dance, so whatever that helped you. I remember, like, I think it was probably Shelter, one of my dancing partners. He would always tie a hoodie around his waist, and it gave like the feeling of him having a skirt, but it was really movement, right? It was about movement. But when I got over to Shelter, when I realized Shelter existed, and then it was like a period of time, then I started working for Shelter. I started doing the door at Shelter. And because I would make my own clothes, every Saturday I would have on a new outfit, like just something different, something that just made me feel me, and something that, once again, movement on the dance floor, whether it's my sleeves, the hood. And so every Saturday it was starting to become like, what do you have on? Like people trying to, like they could see me, but if this was the ledge, it's like, what do you have on? And that also became, you know, like me finding my own lane where there's DJs, dancers, and now I'm like at the cashier box. But fashion was everything.
Tell us about your first time at shelter.
Once again, I really don't know who brings me to these places, but I know I wasn't by myself. It might have been my cousin Tracy, but anyway, I walk into shelter. It's dark. It's
so just for framing people, what year was this, and then which iteration of shelter? Because shelter has very different locations.
Yeah, that's the funny part. So I think I went to shelter 1
on vinyl
on Varick. Yes. Yeah. So one side is Varick, or later at night is Varick, but and then in the first part of the entry of the night is on 6 Hubert Street. So this is me not knowing anything. I think I go in with my cousin, and Alternate is on the stage performing Rejoicing. And I'm watching the crowd, and it's so emotional because it's like she's performing the whole version of this song. And so it almost becomes church. And so I remember it's very much late at night. It's very much like dark. And I'm about to be in tears just because, yeah, like I said, I grew up in gospel. So like this song is now hitting a very gospel and very spiritual note for me. And that was probably the first time I went into shelter. And then it probably was 2 to 3 years before I was back. I think it was trying to figure out. At this point, I know Cassio. I meet T. Alford because then they had this song called Funky People, but I know T. Alford now has Funky People solely himself. But I meet T. Alford, and then I meet Kevin Hedge, Blaze. And I had on these overalls that I made that Kevin liked, and he was like, we started talking, and we started talking about if I could do that for the club or something like that, like if I could do shelter overalls for the club. And the conversation happened, stopped. Next thing I know, like I'm in South Beach for Winter Music Conference. I'm hanging out with T. Alfred. Now I meet Josh. So now I'm re-meeting Kevin again, Josh. And by the time I come back to New York and go to shelter again, I don't know. I think I'm looking for a side hustle because that's how I started doing the door. And from there, we did proceed to create a shelter line to the point where went to the pattern makers. I had jackets, overalls, like kind of like flight pilot jumpers. And I don't know what stopped. There's always probably something, a newer, bigger idea or whatever, but I forgot what it was that stopped us from actually, because the fact that it also took a lot of money to actually just do the samples. But I had a photo shoot done in all the samples. But what I appreciated about Kevin, that he allowed me to go, once again, find my lane in this world where, at the time, Carolyn Bird and Kenny were doing the refreshments at the shelter. Like, shelter was a magical place. Like, for a place not to have alcohol, to be packed, people in there dancing. I'm not saying there was other stuff going on. I was oblivious. I'm just saying, like, it was water and soda that you got. And but there was all these different little lanes that people had already owned prior to this young girl coming in here doing the door, and she's got ideas, right? Where do you fit? And let's be clear, the house community is cliquish. So where do you fit? How do you get in? And then it's like, how'd you get here? At the time, I was doing the door with Lydia, who was like this 6-foot beautiful Black woman model. Like, she would do the door with me. So, and then it was like, I'm coming in, although Lydia was totally gracious, but I'm also coming in, and this was her door. But then Lydia's life changed, and then it became my door. So it was, I always had the opportunity to express and be my authentic self, and Kevin put money behind the ideas that I had.
Trying to figure out how to phrase this. Describe the shelter experience for someone that's never been.
Well, if you get past me, it was welcoming. No, I want to believe. I want to believe that I got better at it doing other doors, but I want to believe that once you got past security, because the pat down was real. Once you got past security, I want to feel like you walked into a space that anybody could feel comfortable in. Anybody. Like, you were going to, if it was your first time there and you didn't know anybody, the music is going to feed you. You're going to bump into somebody, someone's going to say something, or you're going to dance with someone. And then by the time you come again, you're going to probably find that same person to dance with. But it was a happy place. Like, it was church. Like, shelter opened up, I believe, I want to say 11 o'clock. And that didn't close for a long period of time. It didn't close to, I believe, 9 in the morning. Like, and then, I think it shifted to about 6 or whatever. But like, it was all walks of life without trying to sound cliche. It was eclectic dress, like it was designer dress. I mean, there was these two gay guys that loved me, and I knew they were boosting, but they would come and be like, "We got this for you." And one of the favorite things that they got for me was this mohair sweater duster that went down to the floor, gray. When I tell you, I held on to that for as long as I could before it was just disintegrating. But it was like, they would come, and it would be so much drama between the two of them just getting in, but they came and loved me. So it was like, people remember, and I would do my best to remember faces, but it was so much love. There would be so many people that would also help me. Like, so Chris Hubert would do the door with me, and people knew my songs. Like, there would be people that know when Timmy drops this, I'm running out of the booth and I'm trying to get to a speaker, because I didn't want to get on a dance floor. I needed to get onto a speaker, get my dance on, and then get back to booth and not mess up this money, right? So I was very serious about Kevin's money. Like, every dollar that came in, that was going to the business. Like, so, and I always wanted to be seen trustworthy and business minded, but I also love the music. So I also wanted to dance. And my friend West, like, I've met so many beautiful people, like, through just dancing. And, you would hear people say, it was my church, it was my sanctuary. It was real. Like, you would be in there, a song would make you cry. A song will make you laugh. A song will just make you close your mind and lose yourself, right? Shelter was magical because of the people, the talent that came through. Like, Prince came through Shelter. Like, I remember AJ Calloway, he was part of Black Diamond. He knew Prince. He brought Prince through and took him up to the DJ booth, and Prince stood up there with Timmy. I remember performances for sure. Like, I remember when Mary J. Blige performed, but I remember when Little Kim and the Lox came, not the Lox, sorry. Was it the Lox?
Junior Mafia.
It was Little Kim, and it was like, it wasn't Mace, but it was like, another rap group for sure that came in with her to see Mary perform. I remember Grace performing for us, but also for Body and Soul. Like, there was just magical moments. I think this was Body and Soul. Or was it Shelter? I don't know. Forgive me, either party. But the point of this story is, Grace was moving through the crowd and the crowd would just open and close behind her wherever. Like, that's the other thing. Nobody, you could be whoever, and everybody's gonna let you be in this space, as opposed to now, because of technology, because that wasn't really a thing for us, but because of technology, you want to stop and you want to film everybody, and so you're not even getting a chance to enjoy the experience. But so many people, like, just, I mean, Ashford and Simpson is the reason why Kevin and I even got over to do West End Records too. It's so many experiences, such a great time. And with family, it comes the cattiness, the shade, but it's like that stuff got squashed out. It was, yeah. Shelter, I have nothing but great memories of Shelter. So I would say that was Shelter 2 for me. And then, because this is when Tribeca is changing. And so the owner of the building decided to sell. Now, the only thing I don't remember if he passed away first and his son sold the building, but then it was like, we need to find a new home. And at the time, 39th Street became, for me, Shelter 3. And so that was 2000. Wait, I'm trying to think of when we opened up. When we opened up 39th Street, we opened up in a blizzard and we wasn't ready, but we had the sound system. We had a construction party. I grew up. That's how I grew up in New York. I grew up with Shelter in New York. And then Cielo, the Wednesday night roots party, made me a sophisticated woman. But I was definitely, Shelter grew me up.
No, great story. Thanks for sharing. One of my fondest Shelter memories. I wasn't a Shelter regular. I wasn't a fan of the security pat down. I mean, I would feel violated going in there. I understand it because that era was New York guns. I totally get it, but I wish you guys had different goons, because you just felt violated going in. One of the fondest Shelter memories wasn't like during the golden era, was afterwards. I think it was maybe around 2016. You guys did an anniversary party at Club Output in Brooklyn. And that shit was fire. It was Joe Clausel and Timmy in the front room. And in the back room, I think it was Little Ray, Jihad Muhammad, Mark Francis. Both rooms were on fire, DJ-wise. The dancers are losing their goddamn mind. The walls were sweating. That's how you know it's a good party.
Right.
And the party was unapologetically Black. And I feel like that's gone from New York. It was unapologetically Black in terms of the audience, in terms of it was a somewhat mixed crowd, but mainly Black folks.
Right.
In terms of the music, it was like Black music played properly on a great sound system. Everybody knew how to get down. Everybody respected everybody's space. No one had drinks on the dance floor. That night was magic, absolute magic.
That was definitely after me.
Yes, yeah. I don't recall seeing you at that time. Tell us about Nels on Monday nights. Because like Shelter is like one sound, Nels is very different. Like, talk to us about like
Nels is,
it's a different vibe.
Nels was a couple of different things, right? Like, I remember going to Nels and Melanie Daniels doing open mic, and that will blow you. Melanie Daniels will blow you the frick out the water and blow you away, right? But it was like, when you first came in, it was upstairs and it was just singers singing, you know what I'm saying? And so that, Nels had that component, right? Nels always been really funky, velvet rope door type of thing too. But then I'm gonna say his name was Derek Coakley, but Derek was a part of Black Diamond. And at the time, I worked with this woman at Macy's named Shammy. Shammy was also part of Black Diamond. So that's how I found out about this party. And I would follow, that's the thing too, I would follow promoters. Like, if you threw a good party, I'm going wherever you are. So for a while they were at Nels, but like Nels, once again, saw Prince at Nels, saw Biggie at Nels. Like, one of those things where Prince came into Nels, downstairs. You saw him, but then his bodyguard kind of like stood in front of him because he was just kind of like in the cut, just enjoying the scene. Biggie did something very similar. He didn't need a bodyguard in front of him, but just came down here, had a, though you knew it was big, like you could not know. But once again, nobody bothered them. It was like, but like you whispering, but also you still want your room on the dance floor to do your move, to twirl, to spin, or whatever. But that was like, I will always say, I live in a great time of music because I came in before the house I love, the house that I know was demolished, right? Like going back to that soulful house. And you're coming in on the real come up of hip hop, R&B. You got, well, no, I would say college is New Jack Swing for me, but like R&B was still like important, like, and then you got the R&B and hip hop clashing or whatever. So it was always a good party. And for me, if I'm not dancing, then I'm out of here. But because that's why I'm coming out, right? So Nels I don't ever remember Nels being like really true house. Now a DJ may throw that in and may run through the records, right? He's gonna give you the R&B, he's gonna give you the hip hop, he's gonna throw in some house tracks, then he's gonna give you reggae, and then he's gonna finish up either R&B or hip hop, which is why this is totally different. But the Originals is one of my favorite parties to date. And I'm talking, I would love the Originals before COVID, right? Like everybody has blown up, so it's different now. But having all the music that we have created and contributed to play in a space is a little something for everyone, which gives you a diverse in the crowd. So that, to me, that was Nels. That was a good place where Nels did that.
Define soulful house.
I don't even know so I'm just going to say in preface, in my opinion, soulful house made you feel. Soulful house could have lyrics or have instruments, but it still grabbed you. Like it dropped below your neck. It's not just a fist bump and a jump in the air. You don't even know why your body is moving the way it does. It creates an emotion. Because I don't want to I don't want to get into like a melody and lyrics, because I mean that's what brings me to me. I always used to have this fight with Kevin. I was like, melody and lyrics bring women to the dance floor. Men come on a drum beat, on a bass guitar, whatever. But like, if you want women to really be on a dance floor, give them some lyrics, a hook that they can sing, a melody so they can flow in and out of. People would probably say that I hated the circle dancers, and it wasn't that. It's just that by the time that I get into this for the business, I can't let your circle consume the floor where the people who actually paid to dance, and y'all have now pushed them all onto the sidelines. Yes, they want to watch. Yes, it's entertainment, but at the same time, they want to dance too. But going back to, and I digress. Going back to the question though, soulful house means that it did more than just, it made you feel. It connected to you in a way beyond just listening and just hearing. And I don't know how many records we're actually feeling. I mean, I'm not saying there's not good music or good records out, but if you've been out, the dance floor is different. It's very different now than it was early 2000s, late 90s.
Describe for me the moment when the DJ plays the right song at the right time of night, and you're in the middle of the dance floor, and Timmy is just killing it. What does that feel like?
I'm probably, because like I said, I've worked in the business for a really long time. And so therefore I am trying to get, depending on where I'm at. If it was at Cielo, I'm trying to get Maritza to do the door for me. If it was at Shelter, I'm trying to get someone to do the door for me so I can run really quick. And there is something to be said about the music being on 100, a DJ doing its tricks, but also letting the song ride where you can get to the parts that make you sing or really feel. There, there's so many memories right now that are flooding to my mind. Like, remember when Timmy did this, or remember when Kevin did this, or there's something else. When the DJ plays the song at the right time, when the crowd is ready, you can watch the whole crowd, not just you can watch the whole crowd sing, throw their head back, or just, you can watch, it's all a part of the show, right? Like, I always actually, when I talk to DJs, I'm like, because, at one point, everybody's got the record type of thing, right? But you give 10 DJs the same record and they're all going to play it different. And some of them going to be like, make you be like, why would you play that now? Or some are going to make you be like, oh my God. I don't even know if it's describable, to be honest with you. Like, that's the thing. Like, now you don't really get a chance to be in the moment or be present, like I said, because there's so many distractions and you got your phone out, and also you want to DJ, you want to film the DJ getting into the song that you should be getting into. But back then it was like, you were so present and so connected to everything around you, from the lights, from Ariel blowing, the mist, the fog, like all of it all of it was part of the show. And so it's one of those things, if you weren't there, you really missed it. you really missed it. Because you came to dance, you didn't come to profile. If you met somebody, great, but you were looking for your same dancing partner because you like how y'all ducktailed together and just, moved. But it's, I don't even know if you could describe it. I don't even know if I'm doing it justice. Like, I can feel as I'm talking to you, like I can remember, but I don't even know if I could do it justice with words.
That's
House
fair.
was incredible. House was the reason why I loved house clubs or house music. It was the only, to me at the time, genre where if you stepped on somebody's sneakers, it was all good. It was partying. Nobody was fighting. Like, there wasn't fights. It was really like love. Now, granted, there was some shade, and I'm not saying that fights didn't happen, but that was not the norm. The norm was joy, laughter, and fun. Like, yeah. If you didn't get that out of any of the house clubs you went to the wrong clubs. Like, it was a family affair. Like, it was, yeah. It was a good time.
Tell us about Club 88.
Why? I'm throwing a blank. I'm like, I know I've been to Club 88. Where was
Okay.
Club 88?
In Jersey, Hippie Torellas.
So maybe it wasn't everywhere. Maybe it was Club 88.
Or let's pivot. Tell us the story.
Yeah, let's pivot, because I think Sam Factory, I'm not sorry, Zanzibar was.
That's my next question. So let's go to that. Tell us a story about Club Zanzibar. Tell us about the first time you went there. What did you see? Describe the venue. How big was it? What were people wearing? Like, the vibe. Give us the vibe. Paint the picture of the Zanzibar experience. What you remember of it.
Zanzibar was a long ride for me because I'm coming up from South Jersey. It's me and my girls always, or me and my college crew going to Zanzibar. And so it's like, it's late 90s. So once again, it's overall, it's flannel shirts, but you got the sexy, you know, half top or whatever underneath, combat boots or whatever. Like you're cute, but you're coming to dance. Always a line. I know and I see his face clearly, who used to be at the door, Anthony with locks. He was a dancer, dancer by trade, but also he did the door at Zanzibar. I can't tell you, these are your Jersey DJs, but I can't tell you who I remember playing. It was also just another vibe. It's I think, well, actually it's definitely before I start hanging out in New York, in New York, right? This is college, it's the easy drive, I'm home for the weekend, or I think I probably started, did I start Zanzibar high school? No, it was definitely college, like freshman year of college. But so this is, you know, once again, it's the combination of what hip hop is giving at this time too. Like, so think about dots and effects, like it's dreads, it's natural hair, it's perm hair, it's the bobs, it's all of that, right? And you went in there and you came out like a sweaty mess, like, but another spot where I think I probably, you know, it was also like, you're gonna meet some dudes, you're gonna meet some girls, like that type of, it was, Jersey was definitely a different scene than New York for me, but also I was much younger. So probably my perspective of it all is definitely different too. It was an upstairs and downstairs. You definitely wanted to be upstairs. Downstairs was cool, but you felt like you were in the overflow room at church. Like you were not in the main sanctuary at Zanzibar. And like, it always felt hard to find parking. You never wanted to, the one time that we parked past the overpass that passes the building is the time that my car gets broken into. And it's like, okay, how am I gonna explain this to my parents? But Zanzibar, at the time, it was like the best thing that was happening because I didn't know about the New York scene. But at the same time, all the Jersey kind of like songs that I would hear on Kiss FM and you know, the midday mix or whatever, to me, that's where they were coming out of Zanzibar. So I would go and hear definitely what I was hearing on the radio.
Mm-hmm. When we had our talk yesterday, we talked briefly about camps. Bring that conversation up. Explain the house music camp thesis.
Like I said earlier, house music, I don't know if it still is now, but back then it was cliquish. And there were definitely camps. So I felt like, you know, Masters at Work, that was a camp. That was Louis Vega and Kenny Dope. Blaze was a camp. And with Blaze camp also came like Timmy Regisford. So when, like I said, when I came into Shelter, I was working for Kevin. We always crack this joke, we were all working for Timmy. Timmy was the main DJ. And then, you know, then you had your other DJs. So like, you know, you had your Ian Fridays, you had, you know, Jahad Muhammad, you had other people trying to, oh my gosh. And all of them are coming to, Curvin, Will Milton, like all of them are coming to my mind or whatever. But it was like, you felt special if your camp produced a record, and then it's like, and granted, this ain't got nothing to do with me, I'm on the sidelines, but it's like the allegiance, right? So it's like everybody trying to get the record, or how come this person have the record, you know? And then sometimes the camps blend, you know, when Blaze and Louis started, you know, doing some projects together, but the camps were real. Like people, it wasn't that anybody was walking around saying, I'm better than you, right? but you knew you you knew in your camp, you protect your camp. No one talks about the people in your camp, or I can't mess with you. Like, that's just how it is. Yeah. And I think it made it harder for the scene to grow, right? Because it, it is, I'm sure it's no different, like, at the time, Bad Boy, to all the other different camps. Like, it makes it hard to grow something if you're also just like, I'm over here, right? And then what's crazy is I don't even know really Chicago or Chicago camps, right? And then when, down south started developing, their camps, Kai, I see his name too, but I see faces, and then I'm like, is that how you pronounce the name? I'm not gonna mess that up. But it was, but then when you break it down, I look at it as a fraternity or sorority. I also look at it as when you're young, right? When you're young, you don't know better as far as like growing the community. You're thinking, let me grow this right here, and then I'll give pieces out to the world. I think now it's more synergy. I won't say synergy. I would say it's more open now, but now the scene is so different that it's not even the same scene. Like, I don't know why the soulfulness is not there anymore. And I don't know if that's because the camps and the people didn't do a good job harnessing and making sure that our sound and our soulfulness lives on in music. It's almost like when Europe got a hold of house and shook it up and gave it back to us. Now we're chasing their sound to make that dollar. And so, like, the camps are different. I don't even know. I'm far removed. I don't even know if they're still camps,
That's fair. You said something profound yesterday. House music didn't build a culture like hip hop. Explain.
Going back, just this is probably a segue from what I just said. It got to a point where, and I don't know if this has to do with money, that the genre of house, soulful house or deep house didn't see. So therefore you stop using singers, right? And then it got to a point where it was DJs making records, it's beats, but where is there to grow from that? Like, because some DJs you see and some you don't. What hip hop did, not only was there this music, but they started putting images in front of you as far as like how we're going to dress. We're going to wear the oversized pants. We're going to wear the 8-ball jackets, salt and pepper, which made everybody want to go out and get a black onesie bodysuit and wear a 8-ball jacket. House music never developed the culture beyond the music. So when I have nothing to aspire to, like, I want to dress, like, and this is not even fair to say, because Barbara Tucker puts on a show and she puts on dress, but you also understand it's stage dress, right? So that's not even fair. But it's like, it wasn't like, a Dennis Ferrer or a Timmy or any of these DJs, producers, artists, songwriters had a shirt or something. You were like, where can I go and get that? Like, what are we? There's nothing to attach the people to. So it's the music When the music goes, that's it. With hip hop, it was like you could tell different parts of the hip hop culture. I mean, the different parts of hip hop music because of the style of dress. They made people want to buy in and feel more connected. I don't think house did a really good job of that. I think we let the identity, like I said, go. Once the money started being overseas. Yeah, it's amazing a friend of mine did took an old Angela and Renee record. Sorry, let me back up. He was doing a sizzle reel. The song that they use is an old Angela Renee record, which is one of my favorites. And why is escaping me? I don't even know why. But someone remixed it in that almost like EDM, that European house sound. And it's like, yeah, do you even understand what that record was and how the bass line and the lyrics and all that had played a part in a scene, but someone shook it up and made it more, I can't think of the word, but made it more for someone else to actually enjoy the soulful music that we created. So that's, House to me didn't do a really good job to bring in a community, have people like, you have people bought into Paradise Garage. Like you can go, I was literally in, London last year. I go into a record store and the Paradise Garage neon logo is up. You can go and find people wearing Paradise Garage. So people bought in. Past that, and granted, you find people wearing, MAW or some shelter gear or whatever, but that's just merchandise. That's just one component, right? But we didn't create a buy-in for the music to sustain itself.
So well said. What impact did house music songs with no vocals have on the scene? If any?
What are you remembering?
Well, what I'm remembering.
No, I'm saying, like, what do you remember? Like, I'm not saying there weren't good records, but what are you remembering? Because if you think about people, they can recite. You could put on a Biggie record, and it's like, I got all your lines, right? Same or but like I said, I don't even want, you know what? I want to go back to hip hop. Rejoicing, like I can sing lines from Rejoicing. I can sing lines from a Sarah Divine song. I can Beautiful People. Like what are you remembering if you don't have that element? And there's room for everything, but I'm just saying there was a moment where you weren't finding a Stephanie Cook, you wasn't finding artists on a song. It was beats, it was instrumentals, and all of that is funky too. But for me, I only like I can groove to that for so long. But give me a song, give me a melody, give me something that I can attach an emotion or I can remember an experience to. Now, some of you might disagree, but I would safely say that if there's a lyric, like it's just funny, Mark, I think it's Mark Fisher, I love the way that you love me. And I can hear and remember how Kevin, Louis, or Timmy would play that record. Each morning when I see your face, like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you don't have lyrics and singers,
what do you have?
What do you have? It's a great record or a great beat for that moment. But give me lyrics any day. How deep is your love? Right? Like, which is not even a favorite Blaze record of mine, right? But I can't tell you when I travel with them and being around the world and how the audience is saying, how deep is your love? Like, what do you have if it's just the instrumental?
That's real talk.
Yeah.
Tell us about Rayhan's love parties.
I've been a few times. Rayhan's, I met because of Sound Factory Bar, but my brother's older. So I think he's been to a couple of Rayhan's parties prior to me. Rayhan's was in Brooklyn. So already in my mind, at my earlier stages in New York, was like, I lived on 12th between Avenues A and B. I never went above probably Columbus Square, but for the most part, my life was between Lower East Side, West Village, Macy's, because that's the time that I was working there too, and also worked at Barney. So my life was in that area. So to go to Brooklyn is a hike. But you wanted to go because, once again, eclectic style. Like, this is when people would put outfits together, right? Like, it's not like, oh, like, it's not just your regular jeans and t-shirt, whatever. Like, it may be a regular jeans and t-shirt and you decided to wear a necktie, or you gonna have this one of these big hats. So Rayhan's was known for his hats. Like, I mean, I'm sure he did other clothes, but to me, it was like, it was the big hat and then his star and his logo, Rayhan's. That was a black, like, like deep underground party. Like, that was going to feed your soul for real. Like, that's not commercialized in any way. And so did Rayhan's party a couple of, and I believe it was on a Saturday. It was always late at night, but that was also, like, that was probably my probably only Brooklyn time of going into Brooklyn for a house party until I stumbled across Ray's party in the park. And then, as people started doing more, I knew about some other, is it Summit? What is it? There's another party that was done on GCal.
Soul Summit.
Yes.
Soul Summit.
Exactly. Yeah, Soul Summit. So, but to me, and it's funny, like, the top of this year, I go to 718. I just happened to be in New York. I just happened to be in New York when 718 is having their New Year's Day party. So I hit up Benny and I was like, hey, coming through. Don't let me in this long ass line. Benny didn't get my text messages. And it's funny, like, when you come from a point where everybody knew who you were and now nobody knows you, I'm just like, am I really standing in this line? So he finally comes and gets me. And I'm not that person. I'm really not. But it's like, at one point, that was in my life. So now it's like, can someone remember? So he finally comes out and gets me. But when I was leaving, Rayhan's was in the line. And it was one of those things, was just, especially after COVID, you just happy to see some of the older faces that you're not in contact with them on a day-to-day basis or whatever, but it was good to see him. Like, I was like, and he had on his hat and I was like, yes, take a picture with me. Because you're a legend. You're part of my history.
Such a great story. As you became a nightclub connoisseur and expert, you mentioned you didn't do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights anymore. Explain. You said it was very bridge and tunnel, and
yeah, like, honestly, I picked up a lot of my brother's behaviors. So we didn't, unless it was shelter, right? and I've done, but I didn't do body and soul until I actually started working for shelter and started meeting like other people, whatever. And so every now and then I would do body and soul, but honestly, Sunday was sleep for me. So when I left shelter at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm not probably getting up until 4. But when you, at that time, and granted, who knows, I don't know New York scene anymore, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you didn't want to be caught out. Like it was literally everybody coming in from Jersey, the outer boroughs, and that presents a different type of vibe. They're not there to party the way you were partying during the week. It's more like, let me get drunk, let me get messy, like let me, find people to hit on. Like it was more of that. So it was like, it was very much like, ew, I'm not like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I did other things. It was the movies, it was going out to eat, it was going to be home or hanging out with friends, but it wasn't the club scene or whatever. It was definitely not that. Until, like I said, until Saturday, when I started working at shelter, that became what I did every Saturday. But yeah, no. Not going out. And it's funny, I live in Atlanta. I'm pretty much very similar to the same principle. Friday and Saturday, that's the people that want to be out here being messy. They want to drive crazy and they just want to be messy. It takes you are for real if you're going out during the week and you also work. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a different type of going out than when it gets to the weekend.
Describe the golden era of house music.
The golden era of house music, I would say the sound, and I'm gonna say soulful, deep house was respected. DJs could smash up new and old, right? So, people get twisted about if you go too far back, which I never understand. We're the only culture of people that will discard our music. Like, it was a great song that just don't play Follow Me for me. Sorry. When you hear that a million times, you're like, that's the one you don't have to play for me. But the golden era was truly what they say about church. Come as you are. You're coming to be a part of the joy or the vibe. If you had an angst, if you had some anger, or if you didn't have a good day, by the time you left, and I'm gonna say the golden era is not about a certain club or whatever, but by the time you left, you was like, I'm good. I can do this. I can do this life thing a couple of more days. The music fed you, the people fed you. It was like a family reunion. The DJs, I mean, did their thing, all in their own right, did their thing. It would be times you would walk out of shelter on Varick and the sun's coming up, and I call him Nick Perkins, but I call him Nicky. Nick would be like, Timmy killed it. Like, like it was like, or so-and-so killed it. Like you just, it was, you would sweat, your makeup's running, you a hot mess. And then you was going out to go eat. Like, but that was like the golden era for me. The songs, the lyrics, the music, how you felt. I had a great experience through it, and I wouldn't trade nothing about it.
Talk to me about gender in house music. As a woman in house music, were you respected? Were you treated as equal? Were you sexually harassed? Like, give us the real talk.
I don't have any of, like, I don't have any of that. Like, I would say it was definitely, the house music was and probably still is a very male driven, dominated business. Most of your DJs, you had a few, whatever, but like, most of your, it to be mostly male DJs, mostly male producers, the singers. But I personally never experienced, I don't know if it was God or the people that, or the camp that I was in, but I've never experienced like sexual harassment. I never experienced I always say this, working in a club will get you caught up. Like, if this day and age, after Me Too and sexual assault and what that means or whatever, that I was always around great people that I work for. And what I mean by great, I'm talking about genuine in their spirit and their soul, good people. So like, we're always hugging on each other. Someone's grabbing your butt. Someone's, you know what I'm saying? Like but for us, I think because it was you fam, like, no, I never got it twisted. No one ever got, and hopefully I've never offended anybody either, but it was just like, I think it was one of those things, if I did say no, everybody would have expected no, but it's a very touchy feely atmosphere. And especially like when, like I said, you working with people every single Saturday, every single Wednesday, you like, hey, so it's like, it's the things you do, you gonna hug each other tight. Somebody might squeeze your butt, like, or, whatever. But I don't feel like, for me, none of it was distasteful. I've never been angry with anyone about it. I really had a great experience. Yeah, I really had a great experience.
What's the secret or magic of doing the door properly?
Making everybody feel special. I mean,
Unpack.
even the ones that drive you crazy, that come every single week with a story on why. Like, that's the other thing, like, so many different reasons why house clubs had such a hard time. Because folks didn't want to pay. Like, folks didn't want to pay to come in. And you're like, it wasn't like anybody or everybody was pushing, like there was a Bentley outside parked in the back, or like, there's a rent to be paid. And when you, especially my earlier years, so when you're talking about shelter, and before we get to 39th Street, so in shelter was probably Cielo was a whole different vibe, but New York was coming back being sexy or whatever. But like, house music, I mean, like, people would go to the bathroom and fill up a cup for water because they didn't want, and granted, excuse me, I'm not saying that the prices were fair, but if you don't have liquor and the only thing I can sell you is water and soda, then it's probably $4. I mean, people used to, so with shelter, it would be $12 before midnight, $20 after. And listen, I had a real job. I was a manager at Macy's. I had a salary, but I mean, it felt like everybody was trying to make ends meet. I get it. I understand it. But it's like, how do you not support the thing that is literally on a life support and you want it to be around? And some people, like, every week they had the same story. Now, I probably became a little more shrewder at Cielo, because now it's like, I'm a little bit older. I really understand the business. Cielo has a liquor license, but we got a rent to pay. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, they had the bar. So you need people in, which probably also diversifies your crowd now, right? Because I need people who are going to go spend money at the bar. I understand my former crowd, That's not their thing. But now this is what I need in order for us to be here every Wednesday. We were in the meatpacking district, and the meatpacking district was changing and and getting rid of all the prostitutes and all the things. It is trying to become something else, what it is today. So I understood by the time I got to Cielo, and doing Roots NYC Wednesday night, I understood we all just want to be seen, right? We all want to be seen. We all want to touch. And so it's this balance of giving the love at the door. Like, I am angry if I am mistreated at the door, because it's too simple to say hello. Like, and it's not, grandiose expressions or whatever. Sometimes it's just hello, how are you? You're going to have a good time. Reassuring people, if they've never been, they're going to have a good time. Like, and then when you get your regulars, you're like, where are you coming from? How was your day? But it's just, folks just want someone to see them. And I would say I got better at it at Cielo than I did at Shelter. Because at Shelter, I was really behind a box. Like, there's just a window. Cielo, I was really right here, touch, feel, or whatever. So then that became also like, now I can hug you, I would say your security team is important. When we first started off at Cielo in 2004, we had an amazing security team. Like, it's one of those things when everything is in the pocket, is clicking. The security team, nice, friendly, they were in black suits. The coach check people were always iffy, like, meaning like you didn't know why they were attitudinal, like, just like, why? Like, just tell me what it is. If I gotta check my coach, just tell me what it is. Never, like, I wasn't really too much of a fan of the coach check girls, but the bartenders, almost every bartender, like, it's like everybody had their own fanfare. Like, the bathroom attendant, male and female, everybody had, like, you wanted to come in and say hi to Kenny. You wanted to come and say hi to Monica. You wanted to come in and say hi to Mo or Eric, or it was one of those things. So this is supposed to be fun. Like, what are we in here angry for? Like, saying, like, so that makes, to me, a great door. Like, but then if you remember, New York started cracking down on weed. And then the raids that would happen at the club, Cielo, on Friday and Saturday, now it's affecting these little smaller parties. On Monday, why can I think of it? What's his name? Who DJ Francois K DJ'd on Monday. So now these raids are affecting us. People being escorted out by cops, and they made us change our security system. So now we have to have all new security guards, and it just from the time from 2004, and I think I finally stopped doing the door as of 2010. I think I stopped doing door as of 2010. And then I would come back and do the door every now and then or whatever. But that started changing the vibe, right? So now, how you was feeling when you were coming in, now, like, you back to what you were saying, you're starting to feel like you're harassed on the pat downs, because that got intense. Now, by the time you get to me, you so mad from the pat down, like, you giving me, energy or whatever. And it stopped feeling like family.
Co-sign everything you said. And I agree. When Cielo first opened, I was like, wow, there's actually a civilized way to do security. Everyone looks professional. They're welcoming you into the club. Like, Nicholas did a tremendous job of, like, really painting the picture of the total club experience.
Right.
And I remember when all the crackdowns happened, you had to change new security, and you had to hire a security firm, and the security firm happened to be retired NYPD cops, you know? And so that was, and I stopped going because of that. It was just, you just felt violated. I'm like, we're not going to Rikers. We just want to hear, Ted Patterson, like, play some tunes. you know?
Right. Yep.
Like, this is some shit.
And it was like, and you, before they started hiring this different, because it started to change, the security firm started to change rapidly. But you had, when we started doing Roots NYC, you had people that even respected the music. And that was the thing too. You had to understand the crowd. A house music audience crowd is freaking harmless. The most, I mean, like, I'm not saying people that have drugs or whatever, but like, they ain't coming in here to like start nothing at all. And so when you start now changing the security team, they don't respect the people that are coming through the door. And so now you handle everybody like a criminal.
Yeah. One of the greatest good security guards was I think his name is Cliff, tall brother.
Yeah.
Super cool. I remember vividly. There was like, I think a Benny Soda was on like a Circle Line cruise or whatever, and I think Cliff was at the front, and they had some other security people besides him.
Yeah.
And Cliff had to tell him like, "Yo, chill. This is not that kind of crowd. Like,
Right.
it's not going to be that. You know, like I know this crowd. I know Benny. Like, you know, chill with that." And that's set the
Cliff's
tone.
been with me for years. Like Cliff's been with me like for years, and
I need to interview Cliff. I'm sure he's got stories for days.
Yes. Listen. Cliff is hip hop and house. Like I promise you, he has a story for days.
Yeah. Talk to us about your work with Essence.
Oh, so 2008. The music is really changing. Like the house music is really changing. Blaze is, because like I said, I've literally turned a door gig meeting Kevin into an actual job. So I ran West End Records for probably 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. Worked under Kevin and Mel Sharon. And 2008, I was in the office and I was starting to be bored because it wasn't things for me to do. Like there's the contracts are slowing up, folks not really making music. And I was like, I am my father's child. I have to be busy. If I'm not busy, my whole world goes upside down. So a girlfriend of mine was at Essence and she calls me up and I remember this clearly. I was walking on 17th Street going towards probably Mel's house. So I'm walking 17, heading towards 7th Avenue. And she calls me and she says, would you be interested in being a production coordinator for the Essence Festival? And I was like, tell me more. Cause I'm like, I know when I'm making out. She was like, it's $250 a day. I said, when do you want me to start? And so I told Kevin, I was like, this is it. I'll still do, because I didn't want to, that was the thing. I love this music and this industry so much. I didn't really want to be away from it. So I stayed in touch by doing the door at Roots for a while. I did the door at 718 when it was on, where is Trader Joe's? I think that was that Deep Space when it was on 6th Avenue between 21st and 22nd?
That was Club Deep. That was a golden era. That was the golden era
Yes.
of
So I did
718.
I did the door for 718. I mean, I've done some doors. So and that was my way to stay connected to the people and to the music. But I started off as a production coordinator at doing the Essence Festival and realized that was another brand new love. I love being behind the scenes and being a part of making something come to life. So what the job was, and has always been, because it's been a reoccurring role for, probably only didn't do 3 years. So it's been a reoccurring role since 2008 until as of this past summer. There will be a number of sponsors where you needed a sponsorship manager to manage whatever the sales team went out to sell to these sponsors. Someone had to execute it and make sure it got done. So all the deliverables and all the trafficking that you have to do between the different departments and agency and understand what they're coming there to build, that started for me in 2008. And it's Essence is probably another thing that I've been able to tap into some very historical things and be there during the golden era. And that was another thing where I'm not a person who is starstruck. Everybody's people to me. So therefore, the way I'm gonna treat you is the way I'm gonna treat Angela Bassett, the way I'm gonna treat Jill Scott. Like, it just goes on. Like, everyone it's easy, right? It's just, to me, it's just too easy to be nice. And so that was the start of Essence for me. And so it will always be a contract somewhere between 5 to 9 months. And Essence for me was the next place where I built a family. There are people to this day that are my crew, my ride or die. I hang out, and people have changed out. Like, the people that I'm even talking about are no longer at Essence. What the beauty of it is for me, and I'm so grateful and blessed, is that the work I have done, people still tell the next person. So therefore, it's like, hey, do you want to do the Essence Festival this year? And I'm like, sure, that type of thing. So I've been blessed in that way, that the work that I do in this production, live events, festival world, the word of mouth keeps me working.
And the final question, what advice do you have for the next generation in house music?
I don't know if I have advice. I really try not to be that jaded person where I'm like, we had it the best. Like, I don't know, like, how people feel about hip hop or whatever, but like, that time, well, the time that we know, that we truly know, like that, and granted, people can go back to Paradise Garage. So for me, I'm just gonna deal with 93 until I stop working it. So I'll do that. So 93 to 2010, that era, that we'll never see that again. People don't make records the way they used to. Technology, as great as it is made us so disconnected. Like, we don't know how to actually be and enjoy each other's presence. But the flip side of that is, still put the music out. If you still love it, if you're still in the game, still put the music out. Because we can only hear it, we can only be touched by it if you put it out. But if everybody decides like, we don't do it like that anymore, so I'm just done, then we definitely lose, right? So still put the music out. I don't think anybody on a lot of genres go back and listen to what was truly before them. The orchestras, the music that was made, and not just, I sat at my computer and came up with, bless you, sat at my computer and came up with this. So, but somebody will do the work. Somebody will dig deep. I don't know if it could, yeah. Somebody will dig deep, and you'll still every now and then hear that song that will make you feel like back then, but it's different now. I think music across the board. Like, I'm sure somebody could have the same conversation about hip hop. I'm sure somebody could have the same conversation about R&B. Like, R&B now, everything is how you want to smack it, flip it, It's so, you know, it's so in your face. It's not even tucked into where you got to really like, what did he say? Now it's just like out, you know, so I think it's all the genres of music. Yeah, I look at the generation, I'll be like, y'all, I feel bad for y'all. I literally do. Like y'all have missed, and that's what probably got to going back to, we don't play some of the soulful, but also the records that through the years. It's easy if you come into you, it's easy for you to think that what you heard in the last 5 years, that's what it is. And now you're making something off of that. But go back, like really listen to some records or remixes, like yeah, just when music was really being made. So right now, everybody I feel like is is taking a sample from a sample from a sample and creating something. So I don't have advice besides just put it out. Surprise me, you know, surprise me.